Este es el gran concierto de Arjona.
Que Mari pile una mujer puertorriqueña.
Toma dos.
Lupita Ferrer.
Hey, ¿qué tal? Somos Tribal Monterrey.
Estas son las noches de New York, México TV. Como entrevistas, fashion shows. Yo soy Natalie de New York, México TV.
¡Wow! Entonces es un trabajo difícil que hacer.
Bienvenido aquí en la Gran Manzana.
Muchas gracias, Luis y México TV.
De New York, México TV.
This is óleo y acrílico sobre lienzo.
¡Viva México!
New York, Mexico TV.
Hi, welcome to the CUNY Graduate School of Journalism. I joined my colleague Karen Painter, who is also the co-director of the Center for Community and Ethnic Media, in welcoming you to the CUNY Graduate School of Journalism at today's briefing. And we are being joined by the Regional Director of the USCIS, Phyllis Cohen, and also Marilyn Rivera, who is an assistant district attorney in Manhattan, and also a representative from New York Immigration Coalition, and they will be talking about immigration scams, especially those targeting the immigrant communities in New York City.
First, I'd like to start off with just a little background about our agency, the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. We are the federal agency that oversees immigration to the United States. The State Department, is our partner in this massive responsibility overseas. But once an immigrant is here in the United States, they work with our agency in order to apply for any number of immigration benefits. We adjudicate everything from applications for asylum to work authorization to green cards. And of course, the crown jewel of all these benefits is U.S. citizenship. We know that these benefits are in high demand, and we adjudicate millions of cases a year nationwide. We also know that the process can be very confusing, especially for those who are still learning English. This high demand, combined with confusion about the process, unfortunately creates a window of opportunity for scammers. Scammers prey upon consumers, taking advantage of the fact that so many want immigration benefits, but are also unsure of how to get them. So, for example, a scammer might say that they are a lawyer with a specialized understanding of immigration lawyer, but that person might not even have a law degree. My colleague, Mei Ling, of the DA's office here, will be able to share with you the top 5 types of scams here in New York and give you some real-life examples of scams that have led to criminal prosecution. But at USCIS, we see it as our responsibility to not just adjudicate immigration benefits, but we also see it as our responsibility to inform people how to apply for these benefits and how to protect them from scammers who pretend to be helpful. That is why we were so very honored in October 2013 to help stand up the Protecting Immigrant New Yorkers Task Force. We call it PINY, a group of more than 20 organizations that work together, some of whom are represented here today. We are a very diverse coalition of community organizations, but also government offices and law enforcement agencies that really work together to explore ways to collaboratively combat immigration services fraud in New York City. My colleagues will be sharing with you some important tips on how immigrants can avoid scams, but I do want to close with just a few and emphasize them because they are especially important to us at USCIS. You know, there's an expression, imitation is the highest form of flattery. But in the case of these scams, imitation is really the highest form of deception. There are people who will actually pretend that they are USCIS. They may call immigrants on the phone pretending to be immigration service officers or design websites that look like our website to lure people in.
Good afternoon. Muy buenas tardes a mis amigos latinos. My name is Marilyn Rivera, and I'm an assistant district attorney and also the director of my office's Immigrant Affairs Unit. The district attorney in Manhattan is the office that is in charge of prosecuting crime that occurs in the borough of Manhattan. As you all know, Manhattan is one of the most diverse cities in the world. As such, my office realized that immigrants are particularly vulnerable to crime and also one of the populations that's most reluctant to report if they are victims of crime. There are different reasons for this. Many immigrants have a fear of deportation, particularly if they are undocumented. Some immigrants distrust government. Sometimes there's a language barrier. Many immigrants work 2 jobs, long hours, so there are time constraints that put barriers up in terms of reporting crime. So after seeing that, my office realized that what was necessary was a unit that dedicated its resources to immigrants. So in 2007, the district attorney at that time, Robert Morgenthau, created what we call an Immigrant Affairs Unit. We were the first program of its kind in the nation. Following the creation of our program, in the past few years, several other jurisdictions have opened units of their own. Brooklyn now has an Immigrant Affairs Unit, as does Queens, and Nassau County. And on Long Island also has an Immigrant Affairs Unit. So after we created our unit, all of these other units followed. The purpose of the unit is twofold. First, it's our job to investigate and prosecute crimes of fraud that are committed against immigrants. Secondly, it's very important to us to educate the immigrant community to prevent people from becoming victims. And we do that through forming alliances with clergy, with different not-for-profit organizations, different government partners, as well as we've developed a very good relationship with different consulates in order to facilitate referrals and working together in collaboration. I know Phyllis mentioned I talked to you about the top 5 scams that we see. The first, it's basically the unauthorized practice of law. And that's when, quite simply, someone acts like they're a lawyer, gives advice as if they're a lawyer, and they're just not a lawyer, and they're not authorized to do that. Within that are what we call notario scams. And those are people that are notaries, that pretend that because they're notaries, that they are lawyers. And that confusion exists because in many Latin American countries, notarios or notaries are in fact lawyers. Criminals take advantage of that title and they use that title to charge people as if they were in fact lawyers. We have people that pose as immigration officials when they're not, or they claim to have connections to someone in government or in immigration that can help people with their immigration problems, and they in fact do not. We have people that offer immigration options that don't actually exist. People say that there's a DREAM Act or there's some other lottery that doesn't really exist and give people false hope that way. Secondly, we had a man who took advantage of the fact that he was a volunteer for the United Nations. He told people that because of his position as a volunteer for the UN, he could get them temporary protective status. He charged people thousands of dollars for this. He actually set up consultations at the UN where he would promise them these benefits, and those people got nothing in return for their money. He was convicted after a jury trial and actually received a sentence of 5 to 10 years incarceration. Lastly, we had a guy who worked out of his car in Washington Heights. and he would tell people that he was an immigration official. And he actually carried a gun in a holster and had what looked like a federal shield. He also promised people benefits and told them that if they didn't pay him, that he would get them deported through his fictitious position. He also was prosecuted and sentenced to 6 years incarceration. So thank you very much.
Thank you all for having us here today. My name is Camille Mack. I work for the New York Immigration Coalition. I know that many of you have worked with us in the past. We're a statewide organization, an umbrella policy and advocacy group. We have over 175 member organizations that serve immigrants throughout New York State. And my job in particular is to work with anything that has to do with immigration law, which is how I became involved in these efforts, in the work with Phyllis, Marilyn, and our Piney Task Force partners. And since 2013, the NYIC has led the Piney Task Force. And we've been really privileged to see it grow from about 10 organizations to 26 currently today that are, potentially 27, that are members of our task force and that meet together once a month to discuss issues relating to immigration services fraud and to explore the common ground that we all have. You wouldn't think that government, law enforcement, and advocacy community groups have a lot in common, but in this instance, we really do. It's a problem that we all want to see addressed, or it's a problem we all want to fight back against, and the Piney Task Force has really, I think, allowed us to do that in a very unique, creative, and I think beginning now, really effective manner. The resource guide was launched in February. It was launched with an accompanying website. The website is protectingimmigrants.org. You can download the guide there as a PDF. You can also access a lot of the information. You can see the latest press releases, the latest information from all the partners, the work that they're doing to combat these issues. You can also download Know Your Rights flyers. You can download posters that are translated in 6 languages with information on how to report fraud, and that brings me to my biggest ask of all of you is we need people to report fraud. Even if you aren't a victim, if you see something going on, report it. Because you're not just helping yourself, you're not just helping potentially the one person you know who was a victim, you're protecting your community by speaking out. A lot of times people are afraid of speaking out against another community member, but there's safety in numbers, so report fraud. And one of the greatest things we've achieved through our task force is empowering the New York State New American Hotline, which is run out of Catholic Charities, it is not a government office, to accept complaints. We work on a common complaint form. They can take in complaints. The complaints get distributed to all 5 of the district attorneys, to the New York State Attorney General, to the New York City Department of Consumer Affairs, and it gets uploaded into the Federal Trade Commission's Consumer Sentinel database so that a record is created. The number is 1-800-566-7636 if you're calling from a New York area code, 212-419-3737 if you're calling from a non-New York area code. We need people to call, we need people to report. You can report anonymously, you can report on behalf of somebody else, you can report something you've seen on the street that didn't look right to you. Just let us know where we need to be focusing on. You are the eyes and ears on the ground of your communities. And you need to help us so that we can then go out there and help them and make sure that resources are being focused in the right areas. The hotline has access to over 200 languages on the language line. They're open from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. And beyond that, we just want immigrant New Yorkers to know that we care, that this is an important issue and it's a big deal to all of us here in New York. And we want to get that message out there that we want to help, and we don't think that you should be a victim of these kinds of schemes. We don't think that you should give up on your dreams of being here in the United States lawfully, to be here for yourselves and your families. There are people who will work hard to make sure that you can achieve that.
Bueno, lo primero que necesito que la gente sepa es que en nuestra oficina nosotros tratamos todas las víctimas iguales, tengan documentos o no tengan documentos. Nosotros no vamos a compartir cualquier información sobre el estatus migratorio de una persona con las oficinas federales. Toda esa información sobre el estatus migratorio se queda con nosotros y es privada. Así que las personas se pueden sentir completamente cómodas reportando casos de fraude a nuestra oficina. Tenemos también compañeros en oficinas en otros boroughs de Nueva York. Hay oficina en Brooklyn, hay una oficina en Queens, otra en Nassau County, donde también tienen la misma teoría, que es la que las personas indocumentadas se pueden sentir cómodas reportando el crimen, porque no le va a pasar nada.
Muy bien. ¿Cuáles son los números que hay que seguir? Los números de teléfonos.
El número de teléfono que para Manhattan es el 212-335-3600. También hay una línea que es la oficina de Nuevo Americanos, pero no tengo el número, pero pueden buscar la oficina de Nuevo Americanos y ahí hay una línea directa en el cual puede llamar con cualquier problema que le pase en cualquiera de los condados de Nueva York y ahí le pueden dirigir en la dirección donde deben ir.
Por último, ¿nos puede dar su nombre y a qué representa usted?
Okay, mi nombre es Mayerlyn Rivera y represento la Fiscalía de Nueva York. Nosotros trabajamos más directamente con USCIS, que son las personas que procesan los formularios para inmigración. Así que trabajamos con ellos como trabajamos con el fraude. No trabajamos mucho con Customs and Border Patrol porque nosotros solo tenemos jurisdicción en Manhattan. Así que esas personas trabajarían más a lo mejor con Queens o sitios donde haya un puerto de entrada. Pero nosotros trabajamos muy cercamente con USCIS, que es la organización que procesa los documentos de inmigración.
Entonces, con usted directamente nos dirigiríamos si hay algún problema de abuso.
Exactamente. Con nosotros se dirigían si han sido o se sienten que han sido víctimas de fraude en Manhattan.